everyone. Good evening. Good, it works. Right, as stated, during the day, I work at the Max Planck Institute for Informatics, making and breaking computer things. In my alleged spare time, I run Glauca Digital. But this talk is about neither of those two things. This talk exists because I seemingly have a bit of a shtick now, and that is train tickets. I have become the train ticket person. I didn't intend to do this, but I seem to be the train ticket person. And this is a story of how my frustration created that shtick. So let's start with some background on train tickets in the German-speaking world. There are a lot of organizations that can give you a train ticket. Too many, probably. Why isn't the pictures appear on my computer here, but there are no pictures on this slide deck, and I do not know why that is happening. Like, honest, I have pictures. Maybe I need to refresh. Please hold whilst I attempt to fix this. You're not connected to the... Cannot connect to GPN open. What? Oh dear. Okay. Yeah, let's try my hotspot. Okay, mild technical difficulties. Yay! And that's opened the wrong thing. That's my view. Can I, speaker view, can I pull that one out to here? Nope. Okay. Computers. This is going well. Where's the other one gone? There. Okay. Okay, we can continue. Wonderful. So, apologies. Yes, there are way too many organizations that can issue you your train ticket. They all have their different things. They all like to do their own thing. And you probably just deal with the one where you live. And this used to be fine. You bought the train ticket from where you lived, and you know. But now everyone seems to travel everywhere, so now you have to deal with all of the ticket organizations. So there was, you know, before the government had wonderful ideas, this was easy. You got a piece of paper every semester or whatever that says, this is your semester ticket. You stick it in your wallet, stick it behind your phone case, whatever. That's your ticket. There's nothing to go wrong here. There's no battery to die. There's no app that doesn't work with your phone because your phone is a year too old. There's no app that doesn't work with your phone because your phone is a year too new. There's no app that doesn't work with your phone because you have a slightly weird phone, or like, oh no, it's my phone's from China, I can't install a German app because the governments hate each other. You know, this was easy. And then, oh dear, the politicians had ideas. This is never a good thing when politicians have ideas. It generally ends badly. Okay, well, this picture won't load. Fine, you don't get this meme. So, so then, you know, they had this Deutschland ticket idea and decided, no, this must be digital. We are a digital economy. We must be a digital country. Everything must be digital. Digital. It's like saying cyber all the time, but instead they just say digital all the time. And then they have this thing of like, oh, no, you can't print this. This is a PDF, but no, you can't print it. This must be shown, this can only be shown as a PDF on a mobile telephone or a tablet. In printed form, it is invalid and is not a valid travel authorization. Where e-readers fall on this tablet, mobile phone, paper spectrum, I haven't quite figured out. This is the problem with such political ideas, is that they are political ideas, not necessarily strict rules that can easily be followed. Okay, so everything needs to be an app. The federal government says that everything needs to be an app. So then the Verkehrsverbünde had ideas. That obviously they need their own app, and it must be their app, and it must be different from everyone else's app, and you must have their app and no one else's app. We can't have some unified app for putting train tickets in. No, that would be too simple. Everyone must have their own app, and we all, this wonderful federalism thing, we let everyone do their own thing. Yeah, there is a selection of problems with this. Not everyone has a modern smartphone. Not everyone has a phone at all. Not everyone has a phone in the Apple-Google ecosystem. Good luck trying to download something without the Play Store installed on your phone. Good luck if you just hate Apple and don't want to use their App Store, which thankfully you can now do in the EU. But of course, none of these apps are available outside the App Store, so you're still practically stuck into Apple's ecosystem. And not everyone has a reliable internet connection. I'm sure we've all experienced being on the so-called edge of Germany with mobile data on trains. So, yeah, this caused some frustration amongst university students and with myself. So this started with the Linux users group at the Free University of Berlin, who were complaining that their Semestertickets, which used to be this PDF thing, which is weird, but fine. It's a PDF. It's a file. You can email it around. You can put it on whatever phone you want. No. They then, a couple of months ago, decided that's not good enough. We now need to force everyone to use the S-Bahn Berlin app. And, okay, fine. That means you have to download the app, do the whole login flow, do the whole blah, 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 and then finally you can get your ticket. This app also just has a lot of problems with it. Like, it's got this inexplicable news feed here. There's a way to contact their customer services here. There's a live chat. There's a WhatsApp link to Twitter, whatever. There's recommendations for trips in Berlin. Like, I'm sure these are nice, but this app does too much, and it has too many features in it, and it just tracks you. It's got 3 or 4 different tracking frameworks built into it for some reason. Like, fine, have an app, but don't track me whilst I'm doing everything on it. I just want to show you my train ticket. But, okay, I don't live in Berlin. I live in the Saarland, so I get to deal with ZAVVV. They have a web app. I can just look up public transport directions on their web app. I go to zaarfahrplan.de. I can even install it as a PWA. Can I get my train tickets in there? No, I cannot. If you can do anything else, you can even buy a ticket on the web app, but you cannot view it. You must download the app to view the ticket you just paid for. So, what do I actually need to show the ticket inspector really? What do they need from me? So this is my semester ticket, featuring wonderful, we forgot to add a font, so everything is in default font here. Okay. So what here matters? None of this matters. This is what matters. The QR code, not QR code, Aztec code. That's the only thing the ticket inspector cares about. Everything else is visual fluff around it. They only care that you show them the Aztec code that has your ticket in it, because that is your ticket. It's the binary stream that encodes your right to travel. So, some less professional ways to do this is you could take a screenshot, take a picture of the screen with another phone or another camera. The ticket inspector probably won't like this, even though you have a perfectly valid travel authorization that has your name, date of birth in it and everything, and you can show an ID that matches that. They're going to go, no, that's a screenshot. I can't accept that. Or no, that's a picture. I can't accept that. Great. Okay. So we need to make it look like something that would be a legitimate ticket, so they're not suspicious, and then when they put it in their little portable computer that checks your ticket, it says, good, this is a valid ticket. So I have a little project called Zügli, which you can scan pretty much any barcode with that you were to find on any train ticket, and it puts into Apple Wallet or Google Wallet. And it actually, it looks like a professional train ticket. You've got the logo here, the Deutschlandticket logo, which turns out the bus drivers in Saarbrücken, all they look for is this. I've had invalid dates, invalid barcodes, invalid everything. They just see Deutschlandticket and they're like, yeah, cool, get on the bus. So, yeah, this is great security. But anyway, it has all the things that look like a train ticket. So they're going to go, okay, cool, that's a valid ticket, and then not question it. And then when the computer also says it's a valid ticket, brilliant. If you want more details on how this works internally, I can recommend What's Inside My Train Tickets, which is my talk from Congress last Christmas on media.ccc.de. So I mentioned Google Apple Wallet. There's a neat thing about these files, though, is they're just zip files. Like, weirdly, Apple made a kind of accidentally open standard here. Because Apple, in spite of everything that they love to mess with, they kind of do care about privacy. So you don't have to call an Apple API to send a pass to them. You just make a zip file that has this, icon, and then a different scale for Retina screens, thumbnail, pass.json, and then these .lproj folders for localization. But it's just a zip file, and then there's a signature over it using X509 and CMS. But Apple doesn't want you to send the pass to them to give to the iPhone. You just give a zip file to the iPhone, and then the iPhone goes, oh, this is this funny zip file that I can show in Apple Wallet. But that means anyone else can just make an app that reads them. So you don't have to be in the Google ecosystem. You don't have to be in the Apple ecosystem to use these. These are, the three, I wouldn't say I would recommend them, but because they're all a bit buggy, but they're the existing open source ones. Please contribute to them. Please make them better, because I would like to see these be better. But you have a choice of apps that will show you any PKPass file, not just ones from my tool, not just ones that you make, any one where it says add to Apple Wallet, and you think, oh, I don't have an iPhone. I can't do that. No, you can. It's just a zip file. You can just put it in one of these apps. F-Wallet, I think, also works on iOS. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. You could also runs on desktop, which is nice, so you can show it on your laptop. There are also some non-free ones. These look a bit prettier. These might do a better job of convincing the ticket inspector that you have a valid ticket. They're closed source, but this one as well is ad-supported Pass Wallet. Wallet Pass is not. If you don't care for everything on my phone must be open source and I must be able to compile it, then you can use these as well. But there's still a problem with this. I still need to install the app of the traffic company. I still need to get the barcode every month when it renews. We're hackers. We can do better than that. So obviously this app is pulling it from the server somehow. It's doing something to pull it. But okay, it can't be doing something too complicated, right? It's probably just making a HTTP request. Maybe we can just pretend to be the app and get the ticket ourselves without all of the extra nonsense that's in the app. So obviously you install the app in an Android emulator and then launch up a HTTP inspector and start seeing, okay, what happens here? And try and log in and pull, what request it's making when I log in, what request is it making to download the ticket. And bingo. Okay, so it calls zavafau.tickios.de. We'll get on to tickios in a bit. /index.php, wonderful. /mobile service /login. With just username and password in the JSON body. Okay, this looks pretty simple. Let's try it. Oh no, doesn't quite work. Okay, it's complaining it doesn't know who's making the request. Fine, maybe it cares about the user agent field because there was something weird in that user agent field that looks like it might be checking what's in there. So let's set this user agent field to what it was saying. The Zavafau Android app version 3.24.2 from 2022, I genuinely think they haven't recompiled the app since 2022, which is a bit funny, and it's environment Zavafau Live. Ooh, exciting, a different error. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So now it's complaining about an invalid signature. Okay, that X API signature header looks a bit suspicious. Maybe they're trying to be a bit smart about security and making sure that there aren't just random people making requests to their API. But obviously the app itself does have to generate this signature. So we have the app installed on our phone or the emulator. So we have the code to generate the signature. So we can just go look for that code. It's all well and good saying, oh yeah, you have a signature of the app, but then you also just give me the app that can do this. So somewhere in the app is the code to do it. So it's an Android app, so we put it in JADX and search for X API signature. And there's three things. The first one looks promising, .set request property. Okay, it's setting the signature somewhere. Well, let's have a look at this function. Oh, that's a lot of Java, and that's the simplified version. Okay, so let's step through this and see what's going on. There's this HTTP URL connection, which is probably the current connection it's trying to make and trying to sign. Then it calls this ic5.d on this.e with nt.b.b. Wonderful obscured Java, like this is what happens when you decompile Android apps. They'll probably have these nonsensical function names in them. Then there's a string builder somehow, and then we just add all these request parameters to the string builder, and then we call this IC5D again on this string builder with the same parameter again. So we're doing something similar at the start, adding a load of request parameters like the URL, the host, the port, the path, the current date, the content type, the authorization header, if there is one, the xtikios anonymous, which I still don't know what that header's for, but it exists and it seems to be always one. SSO for different logins, we'll get onto the SSO logins, and the user agent. So yeah, get the HTTP request, make some stuff, add some stuff, do it again, and then the result is this request signature. So let's have a look at U83.a. Let's try and figure out what some of these nonsensical function names mean. Oh, okay. This happens sometimes when you decompile because what's compiled into the Java classes is not exactly the source code. So this just happens to be some artifact of decompilation where it's just seen that in a lot of cases the programmer started a string builder, added two things. So it simplified that into a little external function so that the code size is smaller, so the app is quicker to download when you install it. So we can replace that. So yeah, we have this signature, which is just a string of stuff, and then stuff is done to it. So then the next function is ic5.d. That's called twice. What's going on here? Okay, so we turn both the parameters into bytes. We then make the second one into a HMAC SHA-512 key. Then we actually make a HMAC SHA-512 macking instance and initialize it with the key. Then mac.doFinal on the first byte, so mac the first byte with the key being the second byte, and then call this m91.a on it. Let's have a look here. This doesn't seem quite as easy to understand, but those numbers are suspiciously in order. Wonder what's going there. Yeah, those are a bit suspicious. Oh, it's just hex. If you just turn it into, hexadecimal, then like, 303132, that looks a lot like ASCII. Maybe it is ASCII. Yeah, it is ASCII. It's just the ASCII hex alphabet. So this is just 2 hex lowercase. That's all that function is doing. It's turning a byte string into a lowercase hex string. And yeah, first thing is the data we want to HMAC. Second thing is the key. So we can put this in here. So we know that there's some data, this.e, some key, and then we HMAC it, and then we put that plus a load of other stuff, and then HMAC that again. So the signature is just a HMAC. If you prefer this in LaTeX, here is the current function as we understand it, but we still need to know what is this.e and what is the key used to do the HMAC. It's the same key for both HMAC operations because it's calling nt.b.b on both of them, so probably the same key. So, okay, let's start with number one. What is this.e? So there's nothing obvious to tell us what it is, so let's just go digging through some other files and see where this.e might be called. This looks promising. If it's a post request or a put request and this.e is not null, write it to the output stream. Okay, so this.e is just the request body, the byte stream that is to be written as the request. nt.b.b, a lot less helpful. It just returns this.application key. Okay, we knew it was a key, so that doesn't help us. And it's not doing anything, it's just returning the value application key. But the fact that this is not obscured into like this.c or this.f or whatever tells us something. It means it's probably sat somewhere by some, by decoding something. And the value that it decodes has to match up with the field name. So it's something external is calling into it, and you can't obscure external names in a Java class or it stops working. So let's look at where it's set. And there's a few places where it's used. There's one place where it's set. Okay, that's not very helpful. Where is this called, though? Absolutely nowhere. Okay, It's a bit of a dead end. So we've been looking at nt.b.b, but maybe nt.b constructs the value we need somewhere. And inside nt, it's not in .b, but in .a, the function before it, we do find something useful. What does this function do, though? So it opens an Android resource called parsed licenses. Oh, a license. That sounds promising. There's a license for the app to talk to the API server. Constructs a value out of zalfafao and some unknown value again of this obscured function again. Does SHA-512 on it again. Then does some AES stuff. And then pass the resulting string into a map. Maybe it's JSON. This again leads to the fact that this .application key wasn't obscured. So this could well be JSON or some other map value type thing like YAML or whatever other mapping data format you prefer to like. So let's have a look through the resources folder in the app. It sure does look AES encrypted to me. Well, not necessarily AES encrypted, but it's encrypted. And given they were calling some AES functions, probably AES. What does A95.A do? Okay, this is a lot of code, but thankfully, there's a debug string, so we don't actually have to read what the code does. The debug string tells us exactly what it does. It looks for a metadata in the Android manifest.xml file. And we were calling it with that vd6.f, which has .f here is a EOS ms commit hash. And if we look in the Android manifest, should we find EOS ms commit hash with the value we're looking for. Wonderful. So this is probably the git commit hash of whichever build of the app it's running. And then we have a look here. It's making a message digest, and then again making it hex lowercase. Yeah, make a message digest of the type of the first thing, then update it with the byte stream value, and then digest it and return the lowercase x. And finally this, okay, yeah, AES, CBC, no padding with an empty initialization vector, and, excuse me, and the secret key, and then just decrypt decrypt or encrypt, because they're the same operation in AES, the initial byte array. So the app license is the AES CBC of parselicense.lcs, where the key is the lowercase hex encoding of the SHA-512 of zalfafao, concatenated with EOS, ms commit hash, and the first 16 bytes of that, because an AES key is 16 bytes, with a null initialization vector. So now let's take that file we found in the Android manifest and decrypt it. Bingo, that looks useful. And it has this application key that we were looking for, which just happens to be UUID. I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't really matter, but they just use UUIDs. I guess they have an easy function for generating those semi-randomly. And it also has the stuff we need to construct the user agent. So if the user agent format ever changes, well, not if the format ever changes, but if the app is ever updated and then the API starts saying, no, you're running version 2022 of the app, we need the 2027 version of the app to work now, it's fine. The past licenses will tell us that as well. So then we can put it all together. We have the content type, the user agent, the API signature, and the date. We have to set this xEOS date. It's not the usual HTTP date header, with the credentials, username, password. And it works. It returns something, it's a JWT. That looks like an authorization token to me. So now all we need to do is download the tickets. We've done step number 1, which is log in. So the next request the app made after I logged in was to this, again, index.php. So I'm starting to think everything is under some index.php mobile service. That would make sense. And then there's this sync function with a post request and just some blank JSON. Okay, I don't know why this is a post request. It could equally be a GET request, but it may well be that sometimes it uploads some data to the server as well in a sync. And it gets back a list of ticket IDs. Okay, so now we just need to get the ticket. What was the request that happened after that? Okay, the ticket function, promising, with a list of tickets, details true. So details true in this case means we're about to show the ticket to the user. Please give us the full ticket details, not just the summary to show in the list of tickets. And then we get back this JSON with some meta template an X509 certificate, a meta signature, and a template signature. I don't quite get the purpose of the meta signature, the template signature, and the certificate, because this data is already being returned over HTTPS, so it's signed by TLS. But for some reason, they thought it necessary to additionally send you a whole X509 certificate chain plus signatures over 2 of the fields so you can double check that TLS did its job properly? I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, we don't care about signatures. We just want the data. We can ignore those. So have a look in Meta. Is the ticket in there? No. It tells us I at least got my Deutschland ticket. That's promising. And when it's valid, but the ticket itself isn't there. And apparently, my Deutschland ticket cost nothing. Price null. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so it's in template. There's this purchase ID, which is, again, the ticket ID. Content, security method, analog clock. This is just the little rotating clock at the top of the ticket that shows it's not a screenshot. Some colors, some styles, like it's just CSS, and some pages, just HTML. So it turns out this app just shows you a ticket by sending you a HTML page and rendering it. And then references some images here that will be used in like it references image source Aztec barcode, and then that can look it up in here. But that IVBOR, that looks suspicious. I've seen that before. If we put it in a data image PNG base64, we get a barcode. Wonderful, we got the tickets. Congrats. So that was surprisingly easy, bar the little reverse engineering to figure out the signatures on their app, which turned out to be nothing more than a bit of a hindrance than anything else. It wasn't too difficult to pull the tickets out. But let's go back to where this started. We didn't start with Alpha. That's where I live, and it was nice. I could get my ticket out, but the complaints were mostly from the Berlin students with the S-Bahn Berlin app. That app looks suspiciously similar to the Alpha app. Maybe it's the same thing. Okay, let's do this login thing again. No, that looks very different. Maybe this isn't the same app, but let's keep going though. So it turns out it's almost the same. So it does call this sbahnberlin.ticketos.de instead, with the same mobile service, but in this case it's calling the function connect authorize with a code. Okay, so where did my username go, and what the hell is this code? Doing some more digging, it turns out this is an OAuth code, and this is a web view to Keycloak doing OpenID connect. That's fine. We can screen scrape that. It's just a web page. So then we can do the OAuth dance with Keycloak in the background, and then see when it does a redirect, stop it from actually redirecting back, and capture the code, and then call mobile sync, then get the ticket, and then we can call mobile service sync exactly as we did with Alpha, get the tickets, same way, modulo extracting a new license from the APK. The reason this was so similar is because it turns out Tickios is a service of a company called EOS Uptrade, which is a subsidiary of Siemens. And half the transport companies in Germany seem to have contracted Siemens to build that app for them. Because they go, hey, look, we've got this pre-built app. We can put your branding on it. We can integrate your login system into the ticket shop, and everything works. Okay, brilliant. Then I have to do basically no work. We have an app that's already done, someone's already built it, and then Siemens get to rake in the money as they love to do. So that makes my life easier because I've done one bit of reverse engineering and then half the apps just work exactly the same. Of course, Deutsche Bahn has to be different, but you may well know that OAuth hates the living. If you've ever tried to implement OAuth or OIDC, you have probably cried in despair. So has Deutsche Bahn, evidently, because they made a mistake. So in the DB Navigator app, so if I got my Deutschland ticket from them, or even if I want my ICE tickets from them, without having to use their lovely app that currently doesn't work on my phone, it crashes every time I open it, so I can't show any of my tickets in that app, which is wonderful. It does a web view. Again, okay, we've seen this before. and it calls /auth realms db protocol OpenID connect auth. That's a keycloak URL. So if we look at that URL, there's a lot of stuff in it. But the key thing here is this redirect URL, which you'll notice doesn't start https : it starts dbnav : A lot of apps use my app : as an OpenID Connect redirect. But this can backfire. Quoting from IETF Best Current Practice 2012, which at the moment consists of RFC 8252 on OAuth 2.0 for native apps. A limitation of using private use URI schemes, such as non-HTTP URI schemes, for redirect URIs is that multiple apps can typically register with the same scheme, which makes it indeterminate as to which app will receive the authorization code. Section 1 of PKCE details how this limitation can be used to execute a code interception attack. That sounds interesting. Code interception attack. That's what we did with Espanbillion via screen scraping or running in a web browser, or, pretending to be a web browser. But it would be nice if we didn't have to pretend to be a web browser, or if we could just steal the OAuth authorization code anyway. If we have the OAuth authorization code, we have the login. These two are considered equivalent, at least for the validity, usually about 5 minutes, of the OAuth authorization code. So the Deutsche Bahn keycloak uses dbnav : whatever for the DB Navigator app and Bahn bonus : whatever for the Bahn bonus app. And I can just tell the operating system, hey, yeah, I'm the protocol handler for dbnav now. Not this other app, I'm the protocol handler for that. This is very easy to do on iOS. macOS. Every macOS app has this info.plist file in it, which is a XML file for confusing historical reasons, but it basically pretends it's a JSON file. You then put this CF bundle URL types in here, a name, that can be anything, doesn't have to be DB Navigator, but I called it that. And then you say, yep, this app can handle URL schemes dbnav. So with this, I can then redirect to my web app with the original URL in a parameter, and I've slightly broken Deutsche Bahn security because now I can just log in pretending I am the dbnav app, even though I'm not. They implement PKCE, which is normally a decent protection for these kinds of code stealing attacks, but because they let the redirect be open to whatever I wanted it to be, doesn't matter. I still got the code in the end. If you'd like to see the really stupidly simple, like 50 lines of Rust that it takes to get this to work on macOS, see this repository on GitHub. On Linux, it's even easier. You don't even need to compile anything. It's just a bash script that takes up about 20 lines, as long as you have XDG installed. If you would like your tickets without tracking, then you can use my little app, Zügli.app, which implements all of this reverse engineering work. You don't have to log in to your DB Navigator or whatever app. You can just upload a screenshot once a month, and that also works. And if you want to look at the source code, it's also on GitHub. Contributions welcome, although do be forewarned that this code is... You will lose your sanity looking at this code because the train tickets themselves are insane and there's just so much going on. I think it's at about 1 million lines of code now just to deal with train tickets. This is a disaster. Go see my Congress talk if you'd like to see the details on that. And with that, I come to the end of my talk. You may contact me here. If you don't want to ask questions now, you can contact me over email or Fedi. My slides are available on my website. Questions welcome.
Yeah, first of all, that was really interesting. Thank you for presenting it. I think we all have sort of connections to this topic because most of us do have, or have had in the past, semester tickets, me included, obviously. So that was very interesting. Thank you. Like it said, there is now more time than we originally planned for a Q&A session. Are there any questions? I saw a hand. Hang on. Have you worked a microphone before? Do you know how this works? That's
Okay, well qualified there.
I was just joking. There you go.
Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you for this talk. I literally had, so I have 2 questions in combination with a tail.
Okay, wonderful.
The tail is when you said that all they look at is the logo.
Yep.
I have a story about this, and it's combined with a question. So I was hiking with my boyfriend 2 weeks ago, and we were in Kassel, and we had to bridge one part of the trip with a bus. And this was in Hessen, right? So I study in Hessen. I have literally my semester ticket from RMV, the Hessen area ticket service or public transport service. So the bus driver looked at my ticket and said, "No, this is not valid. Your RMV logo isn't moving." So that was the indication of security. So I said, "Okay, I can also print you a immatriculation confirmation." He was like, "No, this is not valid. Your logo isn't moving." And so I paid €4.20 for a ticket, and later I found out that the original way I get my ticket, by the way, it was the official PKPass that I could download from the provider.
Yes, because Apple Wallet doesn't support moving images.
And the best thing is that the provider, it's a web app where you get your original ticket. When I log in with my study data and everything, it has no moving RMV logo.
Amazing. So
yes,
I think
it's amazing. So my question would be, you said that Zügli supports importing PKPass.
Yes.
But PKPass does not specify a standard for moving logos, right?
Yes.
Does Zügli provide a way to move the logo?
No, it doesn't.
Because I'm using one of the apps you mentioned, Pass Android, which does not support GIF animations nor MPVs. We tried filming a friend's RMV app with the moving logo, but I could not embed it. I would have to modify the app, and I will probably just create a website.
So, okay,
Yes,
that is a wonderfully specific question, but I sympathize with your pain because I've had similar where they expect some moving feature on it, which isn't necessary. Like some public transport providers put moving features, some don't, and then they all get weird when it's like, no, you have a ticket from somewhere else and it doesn't actually have this moving feature. It's not required. Like the bus driver was in the wrong here. You had a valid ticket. Yes, exactly. It was cryptographically secured that you had a valid ticket. Apple, at least, specifies that all pictures in a PKPass must be PNG. There is a format of PNG called APNG, which allows animation. Yeah, I have also tried this in Apple Wallet. It doesn't work. So it appears there is no way to add animation as a security feature to an Apple Wallet pass or any other PKPass app. Apple's official line on this matter, or rather not official line, implied line on this matter from their documentation, is that you shouldn't be using animation as a security method. You should either be using a signed barcode, or to their preference, you should be using NFC. And they have this whole public-private key crypto protocol for exchanging passes over NFC. So then you don't even have to show your screen, you just tap it and it exchanges. This is quite nice, but they're also really, really secretive about this. I've tried to get access to it, and they have refused. I'm currently fighting them through the European Commission over the Digital Markets Act about this, because they should give me access to this. But yeah, there's no way to do it. There is a way in Google Wallet, because Google Wallet seems to be happier to capitulate to the demands of transport companies. And you can put in the JSON you give to Google Wallet a security animation. I think it's a security like foil shine or something you put on it, and then it just puts a rainbow around the barcode that moves, and that is considered security by Google. But I have had more success from my friends who use Android if they use Google Wallet and they show that, because then the bus driver sees, oh, it's got a moving rainbow on it, it must be valid.
All right, there's another question back here, then
okay.
Gentleman with the hat, and then there's another one over there. So here you go.
Funnily enough, I also have a question about the RMV logo.
Yeah.
I've been using your app for like a while. I think even when it was back on like Magic Code Word.
Oh yeah, when before it had a name. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also have a RMV like semester ticket.
Yeah.
But when I try to get it through your app instead of like through their web app, it has a different logo. So I was wondering, where do you pull your logos from? Because it seems like outdated or something.
Does it have the AdamFoul logo, or?
Yes, it does, but like an old version.
An old version, okay. That's just me. So I manually go through and put all the logos in because they have to be edited to the specific like size and shape that Apple wants them in a PKPass. So if you'd like to make a pull, basically you just need a PNG that's 50 pixels high, then an X2 that's 100 and an X3 that's 150 pixels high. If you can find a more up-to-date logo, you're welcome to make a pull request on GitHub and I will happily merge it.
Yeah, of course, okay.
Now to the gentleman in the front.
Just a sort of random hack suggestion of how to fix the Apple problem is to use the liquid glass feature thing. Make that look like it's moving, and the bus driver will be like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's do that." Just hack that. That would be cool.
Unfortunately, that one's on Apple. Apple really don't let you change much about what a PKPass looks like. You just give them a JSON file of here is the text I want, and then it gets laid out by Apple in their format. So. They probably will introduce something with liquid glass in passes at some point, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that myself. I think I'm going to have to wait for the Apple gods to bless me to do that.
As someone who haven't reverse engineered anything so far, for about how long did it took you to reverse engineer the login from the apps?
It took me probably about a weekend's worth of time. In like real time, it took me about 2 weeks. But in terms of sitting down and actually working, it took me about a weekend's worth of time because I was doing some other stuff and I just looked at it and it didn't quite make sense the first time. So then I went away for a few days, came back to it, and then it made more sense. So, about 2 weeks in real time, about a weekend of actual work. It wasn't particularly difficult. I wouldn't say it was easy. And obviously it would take you a bit longer because I'm experienced in what I'm looking at here. I can kind of stare at things and see patterns fall out of them when you've done it long enough. But it's not particularly difficult, especially when you've got stuff like Android apps, which are written in Java, which can be decompiled to something that looks very close to the original source code, and you can just start clicking through it and see patterns and see what it's doing.
Do you think that any of the work that's being done by the new famous Deutschland Security Task Force, Deutschland Ticket Security Task Force, is going to impede any of the work you're doing?
Probably not. So, I happen to be somewhat indirectly advising the Deutschland Ticket Security Task Force. If you don't know about this task force, there's been some news stories, I think last month, of somewhere in the region of €500 million of fraud is happening with the Deutschland ticket, which is a rather large amount of money. So, of course, the politicians have now gone, oh dear, we should do something about that. So they, of course, have set up a task force, as they would, to solve this problem, because all problems can naturally be solved with yet more task forces. But the task force is mostly concentrating on problems at the issuer side. So there was one case where a bus company had their private keys stolen, and then someone was issuing fake tickets in their name and not settling them centrally, so the money was all being pocketed. Oops, my laptop has locked itself. Yeah. And there's also been cases of just poor security on the issuer side, so like they didn't check an IBAN before issuing, and then, shocked Pikachu face when the payment doesn't actually go through 3 days later, and now they have to figure out how to revoke a ticket, and this is actually a surprisingly difficult problem. When you've already given someone a ticket, you can't just take it back from them. So this is the problems that the Deutschland Ticket Security Task Force is trying to solve. They're not really doing anything on the giving tickets to users front, because these tickets will probably be issued in the same apps, in the same ways, just with slight modifications to the payment processes and the controls on who holds the private key and how the private keys are held. It would be great if there was some, this is a federal ticket. It would be great if there was some federal system that anyone could integrate with to buy and sell Deutschland tickets so you weren't stuck with the public transport company in your area. But, that would need the politicians to actually do something useful.
Right, thank you. You have another one.
Hi, it's me again. I think there were no more open questions, so I have a second and last one. Actually, it's not a question, maybe more of a hint.
Yep.
I actually, after this happened with Kassel, I looked into the PKPass format again as well. I had looked into it a while ago, but in any case, I noticed something. I'm sorry that you had to go through all this login procedure thing, and it's probably necessary with most of the vendors.
Yep.
But for RMV, I actually noticed this refresh URL.
Yes.
I didn't go into it, but did you see that? Yeah, you saw it.
Yes, so this is something Zügli implements. It's a standard within the Apple PKPass for a phone to register itself for updates to a pass. So the thing that Zügli does when you log in is it will keep pulling, I think every hour, it pulls all of your tickets from the provider you're logged into, which then means at the end of the month, when your new Deutschland ticket is issued, it will pull that, and then it uses this refresh URL in the Apple Wallet format, the Google Wallet format, and some of the free and open source apps implement this as well. It uses that URL to send the new ticket to your phone in the background. So then every morning on the 1st, I wake up to a notification from my phone from about 1 a.m. saying, hey, your Deutschland ticket's been extended for a year. So I don't have to do anything. It just always is that pass is valid. So this, if you have a PKPass that you have got from a public transport company, you could implement pulling new tickets via this refresh URL. You do kind of have to be Apple to use it, though. So the authentication token is in the pass, and you can query this URL with that authentication token and pull the latest pass. But if you want to be notified of updates to the pass, then you need to use something called the Apple Push Notification Service. And you can only register with the Apple Push Notification Service and get a device push token that you then send to the provider to register for updates if you are an Apple device. So you could well implement something that's, you could implement another app that's not Apple Wallet that gets because push notification tokens are all the same. They just push to something. The provider doesn't know what they're pushing to. They just go, hey, Apple, I have this token. Send an update. So you could implement this in your own app, but you would still need an Apple device that can communicate with the Apple Push Notification Service.
Right. Thank you for your answer. Are there any more questions?
Oh, yes. One more in the back.
Hi, have you already looked at other APIs or apps other than the Siemens one?
So, to be honest, I haven't really found anything that's different from the Siemens one. There's the Deutsche Bahn one, which is, of course, their entirely custom thing. There's the Siemens one, which seems to be used by practically everyone else. I did see, so I recently added support for AVV in Aachen AVV, not Augsburg AVV, because of course they have to have the same name. They have something, I think they use the Siemens app, but have a different API. So I wasn't quite sure what the differences were there, but I got it to work. There's also all the public transport companies in Nordrhein-Westfalen seem to use the same base app, which is not based on the Siemens app, but again seems to be a very similar API. So I think this might not be Siemens, but has been inspired by Tickios because I think that came first. So they're all basically the same, and they all, all of the Nordrhein-Westfalen ones make the same OAuth mistake that Deutsche Bahn do, so that's easy to get into. AVV also make the same OAuth mistake. So the only one where the OAuth mistake hasn't been made is S-Bahn Berlin, where they actually redirect to a URL and then use a deep link into the app to handle that. That required some screen scraping to get the login to work, but it didn't have a captcha or anything, so it didn't matter. I could just pretend to be a web browser and log in anyway. But all of these seem trivial, now that I've got one of them to work, to get any of them to work, because they all seem to make the same stupid, careless mistakes.
Right. Are there any more? Yeah, hang on.
Okay, good thing I left time for plenty of questions.
Yeah, we do still have sort of 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So the Deutschland Ticket Security Task Force, as I said earlier, is tackling the payment issues. They were also talking about stuff like motics and moving barcodes. Have you looked into implementing any of those?
Yes, so motics. This is something I haven't mentioned because it seems to be this thing that everyone keeps saying, oh, it's coming soon, and then never happens because, you know, new standards and everyone just sticks to the old one. Motics is a dynamic barcode scheme. So you have this barcode and every 10, 30 seconds or so, a new barcode is shown. Within that barcode, there is the same static travel entitlement that you already have. It's just then wrapped in another container that has the current timestamp in it and is signed by the phone. And then the phone has a certificate that is signed by the transport company, and there's a whole like attestation chain up to like you are actually showing this on this phone with this IMEI or this ID or whatever. And there are some cases where this is already used, like ZVV, if you buy a single ticket or a day ticket, will issue it as a rotating Motic barcode. But they will also just happily fall back to a static barcode if Motix fails for any reason. So you can just block the DNS lookup for the Motix API, and then you get a static barcode. So yeah, this standard is being rolled out very, very slowly. Google Wallet has support for doing Motix. Apple Wallet doesn't, and again, it's Apple Wallet's position that if you actually want this kind of rotating barcode security and you don't want people sharing things around, then you should be using NFC for your tickets, not anything else. So yeah, this is something that will probably interfere with this in maybe 1, 2, 3 years when they finally get everyone to agree on implementing this. But for now, everyone seems perfectly happy with accepting static entitlements where the barcode stays the same for the whole month.
Okay. Are there any more questions or comments? You can comment on the presentation as well if you want to.
Or I believe you can send feedback on the schedule, I think, if you would like to comment anonymously.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. And I just wanted to ask, do you think there's a reason why they removed the add to wallet function in iOS from the DB Navigator?
I genuinely have no idea, to be honest. I think this was something that was in DB Next Navigator, and this was like, oh yeah, we're doing a new app. We'll add this new feature to it. And then everyone realized no one, like, you know, for office politics reasons, no one wanted to be in charge of that integration. No one wanted the responsibility for keeping that working, so they just went, whatever. They have an app, they can show the ticket in there. It's too much effort to get it to show it in Apple Wallet, send updates or whatever. So, you know, you'd have to ask DB, but I can only speculate.
Thanks.
Oh, 2 more questions.
Yeah, there's one more. So just as a reminder, we have 5 minutes left, which doesn't mean you have to ask questions, but you are welcome to.
Ask questions or else.
Can you show the meme?
The meme? I have no idea if I can make this meme load.
Does it work on your screen?
It does not work on my screen either. I have a lot of slides. Yeah, you can load up the slides on your laptop or phone, and it will probably show you the meme. Okay. No, it just doesn't show on either screen. So if I refresh this, does the... No, okay, I think it's just refusing to show the meme here. I don't know why. I'm sorry. You can pull it up on your phone, yeah, and then you can look at the terrible meme.
All right. Just check.
There's one more at the corner.
No.
And then I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we're sort of That's the last one. Last question. Was it? Oh. No problem.
Yeah, not really a question, just a funny thing in the end. We just got like digital student cards for the university, and they also have a moving little logo in the corner, but there's not even like a barcode or a QR code or anything. It's just text and like a moving little thing, and that's supposed to be like verification.
Inspired by the bus driver from Kassel. Yes. I mean, that's wonderful. I don't really have anything to say in response to that other than, well done, you fooled yourself.
All right, I think we can safely wrap this up. I do thank you. That was very interesting. I thank you, the audience, as well, for your questions and your comments. There is, like I've heard, and it's been said, an anonymous possibility to comment.
Or you can pass to me afterwards if you just didn't want to say something in front of everyone else.
That's a good point. Are you available if someone has another question?
Yes, I'm here all weekend.
Right, so you are approachable.
Yes.
You are allowed to talk.
Yes, you are allowed to talk to me. I won't bite, I promise.
That's good. All right. So if there are no closing remarks from any of you...
Going once, going twice.
I would say we are 2 minutes short, and that's fine.
Excellent.
Thank you for your presentation. That was very interesting.